Hello and welcome to Newsworthy Stories with Jacqueline Jimenez. I had the opportunity to sit down with a 6-time Hall of Famer in business and athletics, and now he is sharing that extraordinary experience and knowledge with you. We're going to sit down and talk to him in just a moment, but first, here's a story behind the man.
The room filled to the brim at the Tower Club in Fort Lauderdale for the 8th annual Chief Executive Officers of Management Companies dinner. The speaker, a 6-time Hall of Famer and a legend in basketball and business.
Tonight we have a guest with an incredible story. He's won college national championships. He's been a professional basketball player, a teacher. He worked in the entertainment industry with the likes of Elvis. Worked for the actual KFC Colonel. Eventually became a business owner and franchisee himself, owning and operating more than 80 restaurants. And he's an author, among many other things that we will come to learn about him tonight. Please welcome George Tinsley.
Born and raised in Kentucky, George Tinsley launched several companies, including Tinsley Family Concessions. His extraordinary success in concessions and franchising was due to his overwhelming ability to overcome obstacles. It's also his motivation to now share that wisdom through speaking, coaching, and advising under his company, G.W. Tinsley Consulting Group.
As an athlete, I always prided myself in the fourth quarter and being in condition to be able to outlast my opponent in the fourth quarter, condition-wise. So as that translated into everything else that I would be doing, that when times get tough, it's time to kick it into another gear and make that happen. And understand that it's not the end of the world. When you run into a roadblock, you just got to figure your way around it, over top it, or
When I think of George Tinsley, I think of my childhood in Auburndale, Florida. When I would grow up, when I was going to basketball camps and Little League baseball, the Tinsley name and family were everywhere in Polk County, where I grew up. And when I also think of George now as an adult, I think of overcoming obstacles with opportunities.
Had an opportunity to work with KFC for 8 years in various different departments. I got to tell you, I started out as a trainer in the training department at KFC, and my first week there, I found out that I was going to be working with the Colonel. And you talk about being intimidated.
the Colonel would always come in the very first day, and he would come back the last day for graduation. And so we developed a relationship. It was a little rocky at first because the Colonel, he knew what he was doing, and I was trying to learn, but also I'm trying to teach these millionaires how to do that. So we learned to put up with each other, if you will, and later on became a working relationship. And so I worked with him for 3 years, off and on during that time, right up until the time he passed away.
So we want to talk to George about how can we best talk to and interact with our customers. His customers were people who were in the restaurant and food service industry, among other things. Our customers are people who live in their homes and who pay a lot of money for a quality of life and a cost of living that right now is under a lot of threat. So how can we learn from someone like George, who has the ability and who has certainly demonstrated the leadership and who believes in the culture of a company that knows how to deal with people? I've heard you say, George, you don't fight feedback. You're correct.
My philosophy, learning from the Colonel, was that the customer is always right. Even when they're wrong, they're always right. So the goal was to make it right. No matter what that cost you, making it right. I would have customers complain about the chicken being greasy, and so I'd have to take them through a little educational process of that's not grease, it's moisture. And so forth. And remember, this is finger licking good for the Colonel. So, and people appreciated that. They appreciated the honesty. They appreciated not being defensive.
I always believe it's interesting to try to hear what people say, but to understand what they actually mean. And you talk about how you experience that and how you make that and translate that, what people actually say versus what they mean, and how to take that feedback.
Well, what I learned was in taking constructive feedback, tough constructive feedback as an athlete with some great coaching, was that it wasn't personal. It was trying to get me to be better than I was at the time. So I translate that into the business of, first of all, eye contact. Making sure that I maintain eye contact with that person that has an issue. And typically I try to repeat it back to them, not in a put down way, but to let them know that I understand what they're asking, and then fix it.
There are certain things that resonate regardless of the industry, because when it all comes back to, we live in a society and it's all about people. And George seems to have a gift for not only bringing out the best in himself, but finding the best in individuals and finding the way to make a team the best. He has run the #1 KFC in the country, and he's brought so many, over 80 restaurants to the top of their
So
game.
as we move forward, we're looking for people that want to be successful, people that are willing to work hard, set goals, follow the plan that we have in place in whatever we're doing. And I want to be able to, as I move through this fourth quarter, to be able to inspire, motivate, and train people to be able to meet those challenges. So,
But what makes George's accomplishments astounding is his beginnings. Abandoned by his mother at 7 months old, only to be raised by his babysitter, who had one leg and used a crutch.
somehow I wound up with a lady who was keeping children in the neighborhood who wound up with me. My mother didn't come back, and so she raised me from 7 months old until I was 13 years old. So during that particular period of time, she taught me a lot about God and being a good person and all those valuable things. My seventh grade school teacher just fell in love with me and put me in a position to be successful and build my self-esteem, and that's where I started to taking a turn towards achieving goals. And so
George would go on to earn a scholarship playing basketball, where his team won national championships 3 out of the 4 years he attended. From there, he went on to win championships through the American Basketball Association and had hoped for a career in teaching and coaching. But instead of a career on the court, George Tinsley was going corporate through KFC.
Our success in KFC and success in other businesses is the repeat customer, getting that customer to come back. So the goal is every time someone walked in that door, you made them feel comfortable, you made them feel good about spending their hard-earned money. If that's opening the door for them, as a matter of fact, it's probably the first franchisee that actually had hostesses, senior citizens working in the lobby. And their job was to make those customers feel comfortable and let me know if there was a problem. 5 years after this KFC opened up, we actually burned down to the ground. And during that time, we got a truck, put a warming cabinet in it, a warming cabinet, a refrigeration unit, and put a little menu on the window and drove around the community selling chicken while we were building that store up. It was like the ice cream truck that goes through the neighborhood. we had a little clock.
It is no surprise that George Tinsley is the author of The Determined Entrepreneur and working on a second book detailing his ability to go from obstacle to opportunity. But there was no greater challenge that George faced than when it came to his daughter, who became fatally ill. He talks about the importance of taking the time to take care of what matters most.
So one of the most wonderful things that a man can be blessed with is to have children who you can watch grow and become the best that they can be, and see them achieve. And unfortunately, sometimes you run into tough situations, which we did with my daughter, who became ill while performing up in New York as a model and actress, and having to bring her home because of an illness that she had. Fortunately, I was in position to be able to make time to make that happen. Some guys may have 100, 200, 300 restaurants and be strung out there, but not be able to take care of what's important in their life, in their lives. And so, fortunately, I was able to do that, and I had other relatives inside of our business that were able to take over certain things to make that happen. But as a business person and one who cares about the family, cares about the community, I felt that was very important to do that, because business.
Tinsley Family Concessions is just that, family. His wife Sarita and son George Tinsley II have played a vital role in the success of the company and their dedication to the community, something George wants to teach and train other entrepreneurs to do.
What matters most to me in my interaction with young entrepreneurs is to see them first listen and understand that this is it's hard work, and that their road is going to be different from my road. But if they approach it the same way, not giving up at the first smack upside the face that they get, that if they hang in there and they keep working towards it, that they'll realize success. And success is measured by what it means to you. And so once you get to step one, you're going to want to go to step two, and then to step three, and you want to grow your business. But you don't want to. It's not going to happen overnight. So if that's your mental outlook, that only happens 1 in 100 times. And it's not always important that you have 100 restaurants. It's one successful restaurant. Then you can move to the next step and understand the business and understand how important your people are to your success. It's not about you, it's about the people who work for you, how you motivate them and train them to be the best that they can be.
You can learn more about George Tinsley at tinsleyspeaks.com.
So joining me now is six-time Hall of Famer George Tinsley of Family Concessions, Tinsley Speaks, author, so much more. George, so glad to have you.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you.
I tell you, what an incredible story you have, and the opportunity to share that wisdom with others is just mind blowing. You just want to sit at your feet, and hear one story after another, because you just have so much to share. George, what are you doing now?
Well,
How are you going to do that?
Well, thank you for that introduction. Presently, I'm entering into that fourth quarter of my life and transitioning our business to my son, to his leadership. We're working through that and spending time giving back in the communities that we do business in, with different speaking engagements, having an opportunity to do different podcasts, and just kind of easing into that fourth quarter and just reflecting back on the different successes and failures that we've had throughout the years, that all combined into into business and life.
And just the continuation of being able to share that with other businesses that are coming up. Why do you want to do that? Why not just keep it to yourself?
Well, that would be a little selfish, I'd say, but if someone did it for me, my goal growing up was to be a professional athlete, and that's what I wanted to do. That was my plan, things happen. You run into obstacles as you move along, and so you have to, as doors open, take advantage of those opportunities and see where they take you. You develop a certain level of confidence that you can do things, and or you can learn new things, and you just step right in and do the best you can, and hopefully it all works out. So that's pretty much how I face things as I move through my career.
You had such an incredible opportunity, and I could tell that even in the story when you were talking, about working with the colonel, that he had such an impact on your life. Can you talk about a little bit more about how that has impacted you still today,
Well,
or what other business things that you're still using, you're still relying on? What is your default?
from the perspective of working with the colonel, it was my first opportunity of actually getting into business. Um, Being a former school teacher and a coach opened the door for that opportunity to go to work for Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation in 1976. Never knew at the time that I was going to be working with this icon, the brand himself. And so, plus, during those days, the colonel and the white suit and all of that in Kentucky, from a African American standpoint, was not the gold standard, if you will. And so, working through those relationships, and just coming out of the turbulent '60s, there was some challenges, psychological challenges that I had to deal with. But the bigger picture was the business aspect of running a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant, and that was my job, to train new people that were coming into the system, and bridge the gap between the colonel himself and what he had, uh, the concept of how the product was cooked and so forth, turning and teaching these folks how to not only cook chicken but how to make money in cooking chicken. It became a obsession to me, and I just couldn't wait to get back in the classroom, share experiences with the colonel and with the franchisees. These were new people that were just getting into the system, millionaires, to share with them, and it was just a whole new experience, and I was extremely excited about it. Excited about it. Of course, I worked 8 years in the corporate world, so I learned different aspects of the business itself: human resources, operations, construction, development, and all of that. I couldn't wait to have an opportunity to do something like this myself.
Well, you talk about you couldn't wait. I feel even that today, when you get up in the morning, what gets you up in the morning now? That every time it seems like you're driven, like no matter what you're doing, there seems to be this excitement about what you're doing. How do you keep that excitement, and what is it about, what you do every day that gets you excited about, I need to start at the crack of dawn?
Well, you're right. It's my mind around 4 o'clock in the morning starts to going about things that I need to do to get better, things I need to do to improve something that I did yesterday, in all aspects of my life. So it's I think everything goes back to my athletic career in sports, and meeting challenges, and being the best you can be. That just has translated into everything that I do. So, at this stage in my life, I want to calm down. I want to take some time and rest. I want to take some vacations and all of that. But each time I start, we start looking towards that, something else comes up, new opportunities come in every day, and so you have to choose whether you're going to do that, or whether you're going to you stick to your goal of relaxing a little bit. So
Well, I think both are necessary,
yeah,
George. Now talk to me about the speaking engagements that you want to be a part of, or you want to do more of, I should say. and just the opportunities to consult businesses
Yeah.
and executives uh, in the way that you operate.
About 5 years ago, a gentleman in the community here in Winter Haven, where I live, approached me about writing a book, and he uh, s- started talking to me about the different obstacles that he had heard that I faced in life, and how I've turned those around. And I coined this phrase of turning obstacles to opportunity, and that's kind of my tagline. I've got a patent on it, and so um, as I mentioned, going to get into this fourth quarter. I want to let people know that no matter what you have to deal with in life, no matter where you start, you still have an opportunity to be successful if you really believe and you're focused and you have a desire to make it happen. So, turning obstacles to opportunities is the phrase that I use as I speak, and looking at everything from my early childhood to where I am today, the different stories that we've experienced that could have meant disaster, or could have been life changing in a negative way. That with the good Lord looking down and helping me out with some of these decisions, because they certainly did just I didn't he had to help me get through some of these things. So
I
that's what it's about. Yeah.
And one of the things that you talk about, you say your son is taking, you're kind of handing it off to your son, but your family, right? You
Yes.
talk, your family is such a huge part of everything that you do. And can you talk about, that connection with where you are now, and um where you're going with even your family? Because I know you were, just recently you were uh honored in Winter Haven.
Yes. Yes. Yes, we've been in this community now since 1984. But when you speak of family, it starts with my wife, and that started back in 1968, when she was a freshman in college and I was a junior in college, and we started dating then off and on. Because we were both from Louisville, Kentucky, and we went to the same high school. She was a sophomore in high school, and when I was a senior, but we never really had any dating experience, etc. And we came from two different sides of the track.
Mm.
So as as we uh, began to, and I fell in love with her, that different things that we experienced led me to believe that the two of us could really have a wonderful life if we could come together and make this work. So that's where it all started, and we got married in 1972. We've been married now 51 years. During that time, we both were very aggressive in our careers. She was in the radio business. I was in, yeah, at the time, in athletics, still playing professional as a professional athlete. And so we've been able to combine that energy and work where her strong points are, where my strong points are, where our weaknesses are. Combine that as we move through, and then as we've had brought our children into the game and into the family, and they've grown up and gone to college and got their degrees. My son's got his master's degree in business. He went to Morehouse College. Wants to be a businessman, and so it's all kind of come full circle where uh, the aspirations were to pick that up. My daughter, who's deceased, she didn't choose to be in the business. She was more into modeling and acting and that end of the business until she became ill. But she was very aggressive too in her career, and so it's it's been a wonderful journey.
I tell you, and that's one of the things I just wanted to talk about. Now, you briefly spoke about the book that you're writing, right? But I also wanted to be sure that we mentioned the one that you already you already have, the
Yeah.
Determined Entrepreneur, because until the other one comes out, this one exists, and I'm sure it is full of goodies as well.
Yes, it's a book that I kind of backed into. The gentleman that I mentioned a little bit earlier, he was in helping with a project that I was working on, and at the time I was the chairman of the Retired Players NBA Retired Players Association, and excuse me, I was getting calls and dealing with all of the situation with all of these stars, Julius Irving, and just to name one name that I'm sure it will jump out to people, but all of the players belong to the Retired Players Association, and then dealing with the business and so forth. He said, George, you'd ought to write a book and talk put all this into a book and let people understand what you're dealing with. So we kind of we started into it. It wasn't it wasn't a major project, paperback that tells the story, my life story, focuses on our business at the time, and that was about 2010. It was not my major goal as the book that I'm working on now that we're really putting a lot more time into with the ghostwriter and so forth. So it's a very interesting book that highlights a lot of things that I've experienced throughout my career.
That's that's great. I'm really excited about that. So, um, when people try and reach out to you, or if they want to book you, book a six-time Hall of Famer, to inspire your growth and success. I mean, truly, the in the story, we could see that the CEOMC, the chief executive officers of management companies, they took advantage. It doesn't have to be athletics related; it's just business, right?
Right.
And just the fact of how you go about um, starting a business, being in business, staying in business, thriving in business. You have all those qualifications and, overcoming obstacles, just like you said.
Yeah.
That is your specialty. I mean, what better gift can you be given? The ability to overcome obstacles. And it's just been a pleasure. I had such a joy interviewing you and getting to know you and looking forward to, getting to know you more. But take advantage of what George Tinsley has to offer. Go to tinsleyspeaks.com or any of the other websites. Reach out to him. Is there any other thing that you want to add before we step out?
Well, I'd just like to add that the book that or the website will dive into detail, but the book and my speaking engagements are not all just about business and about athletics. It's about life. It's about the challenges that we face in life. That there's a common theme across the board that if you really want to be successful, how to focus on doing that and not let things get in your way, not let people get in your way, negative people get in your way. Just staying positive and trusting in your uh, in your skill set and pushing it as far as possible. I mean, it's not you're not everybody's not going to be a multimillionaire. But you can sure make a life for yourself and be have a certain amount of success.
Well, thank you so much, George. I thanks for being part of Newsworthy Stories.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.